Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is Rob. Welcome to the training on the eSignal volume delta indicator. Now, if you are an eSignal user, we agreed to give you this indicator, which normally is for sale in eSignal's library for $50 a month. We agreed, with eSignal's help, to offer this to our students for free for the first year. It is a phenomenal indicator, one that I have used very heavily, and one that I think you guys are really going to turn out to like. So with that, let's jump right into our disclaimer. Basically, it says, I am not an advisor. I cannot legally tell you to buy or sell a stock. It is against the law. The SEC, which the Securities and Exchange Commission, requires you to be licensed in order to do so. I am not, and I do not want to be. So, if you find a candidate, indicator, setup, something, anything that you like here today, my suggestion is you paper trade it first before ever putting 1 penny of real money into the trade setup or indicator, and then and only then would you do so if it fits your own personal risk profile and risk tolerance. Now, keep something in mind. Because I am not an advisor, that means I am not under trading restrictions. That means that I may choose to enter or exit a trade at any given time without prior notice. Okay. So guys, I have an indicator preset up on here already, and it is, again, called volume delta is the indicator. And we're going to go through and set this page up manually. We're not going to focus on what's here. We're going to go and set it up manually. So you can have multiple things on the page. You could see this is the only thing I have is just a chart. And that's all we're going to do is set up a chart. So we're going to click on the plus button on eSignal, and we're going to add a new chart. Create, and we're going to click Close. Now your chart is going to come up however it has been saved or whatever the default in your computer is right now for your eSignal. I'm going to change this to Apple. I'm going to change it to a 5-minute chart. I happen to have moving averages on my chart along with volume bars on the bottom. Now, I don't want anything at all. I want chart. So right click on the chart. We're going to go to Edit. I am going to not uncheck them. I am going to remove them. Subchart 2, taking it away. Don't want it. All right? Now, all we have left is one clean chart of Apple. That is it. Now, under chart type, we're going to do a pull down. And you're going to see volume delta. If you don't see volume delta, pick up the phone, hit pause, because there's no sense of going any further. If you don't see it, pause the video, call tech support, and say, hey, I'm supposed to have this. I'm not seeing it. Help. And they will get it registered on your system for you. So we're going to click on volume delta. Now, once we click volume delta, it's going to load something on our charts. I have not played with all of the settings in here. I really don't have any interest in making changes to them. You can tweak them for yourself as you like. We're going to leave them alone for right now. So I'm going to X out of this. Well, actually, let's do this. Instead of Xing out of it, it would be applied to current page, which is what it's already done. So we don't have to do anything. Right? If you wanted every page in your computer to be there, you would do all pages. I would not do that. Okay, we're going to close it out. Now that we have this chart up here, I want all of us to be working in the exact same place. What does that mean? We're going to make sure that the time that you are using on this chart is the right amount of time. And the question you have to ask yourself is, if you are a short-term to an intermediate-term trader, do you really need more than, say, 500 bars on a chart? 500 5-minute candlesticks? More than likely not. More than 500 days? Are you really looking at 2.5 years ago? Probably not. So let's go ahead, and on the chart we're going to right-click, and we're going to go down to Time Template. Most of you should be set on auto unless you set up some special sessions on your system. So we're going to go back. Just had to hit pause for a second. You should see auto. We're going to click Edit. And what we're going to do is we're going to add, we're going to add a time template with the plus key. Right? It gave us a new template. We want to change the name, and I would save mine as RR so I know that I did it. And you can see I already have some saved here, RRBT, 500 bar time template. That's exactly what you're going to do. We created this for the other indicator set that I showed you, or I have a video done for. In case you haven't seen it, I need to show it to you here as well. So what you're going to do is, the way that indicator is set up is we have a fixed number of bars, and we want to make that fixed number of bars 500. And for sessions, we want to go to auto sessions. I don't want to name it user defined template 1. I want to name it RRBT 500 bar time template. Now I already have one done, so I'm going to just delete that one off that I have there. It actually should be 500, not 300. But this is the one that I was using right here, so it's 500 bars. So I want this to be 500 bars. Now, I don't care what you name it. You can name it, your name. For John Smith, JS, 500 bar time template, TT for time template. Whatever it takes for you to remember it, I don't care. I just want you to set this up, and I want you to apply it only to the current page. Chart flashes, and then we can close this down. And if you scroll all the way back, you will notice that it runs out. That this doesn't just go on forever. It goes back to, today is the 17th. It goes back to the 10th, the 9th. So it goes back a week-ish, right? I don't need more than that. If you want more, you've got a specific purpose, you're a different trader, longer term, you may want to add more bars. But for a short-term trader, to think that you need more than 500 bars for this indicator, you really don't. Okay, so that's the chart component itself. Now, there are two indicators that we need to add. So right-click on the chart, and we're going to click Insert Study. Now, you should have a Volume Delta tab there. Once again, if you don't see it, you don't have Volume Delta on your screen, on your computer. We're going to click on it. There are two indicators, the bar statistics and the price statistics. We're going to apply, well, let's just do bar since that's the top one. Apply bar, and that's coming down at the bottom. And then price will be on the left-hand side, right over here. Now, there was confusion when I showed this, and some of you have access to this, but how to set it up, you were unfamiliar with. When I showed this, some of you would say, Rob, I have different configuration than you. I'm seeing more bars, less bars, but I'm seeing different prices, and that's because you had more or less bars than me. You should be, when we look at this, we should be seeing the exact same number of bars and now the exact same price ranges on our chart. So if we go ahead and stretch this out to the left, and I really want to stretch it until you can see some numbers in here. And I want to explain a couple of things first about the bars, and then we'll go from the bars and look at the other two indicators. So on this bar, notice at the bottom this big green bar. It shows 695,000 by 819,000. That's the number of shares at 2:45 in the afternoon today traded on this stock. This bar is a shade of green. Look at the 1, 2 over or 3 over to the left. That's a much lighter shade. This green bar, this 1 minute or 5 minute, whatever your time period is of trading, was much stronger than this one back here. And you can look and see at each price interval, and it could be pennies, it could be a couple of penny difference, but at each price interval, how this stock traded. And the bigger you make this, guys, the more in depth you can get that to be, right? The more you get to see in here. So it shows that at this price point we had 17,191 at the bid and 51,635 shares at the ask. You could see on this candle, which is what this is, a candle, that's how we traded. Now, I don't want to take that big one there. Let's take this one next to it. There's an arrow. Let me stretch it out. There's an arrow right here. See, my mouse just became a pointer, a finger. That arrow is the opening price. The arrow on the right is the closing price, right there. The top of the rectangle is the high. The bottom of the rectangle is the low. So in essence, this built a candlestick but didn't make it a candle. It made it all body. Every bit of it is the body. Now, you can view and read inside of the candle by looking at it this way, which to me is the most important thing about trading, is what can I see that others cannot. If I can see inside of the candlestick, it's a huge benefit to me. You will also notice, I just saw it, I don't want to get too crazy though, right here we had such a dark red candle right at that price. So there are shade differences up here as there are on the indicators at the bottom that tell us the importance of what's going on. So each of these, again, price points tell us how it traded at that price level, and then it tells us, good or bad, and then it tells us not only by the number of shares, but by the color, how good or bad it was, how strong the bears were. That was a really strong bear. This candle was a really strong bearish candle 2 candles ago. And that's going to be important to understand in just a moment. All right? So the indicator at the bottom is very simple. It takes the volume that is right here in this candle, and it adds it all up and puts it down at the bottom. Gives you the same shading, the same coloring that we're looking at up here at the price graph. It puts it down on the bottom and shows you for one candle how things have gone. Now, I do not necessarily need to see it that big. This is a volume indicator. I don't need it tremendous on my screen. I really do need the top tremendous on my screen, and there's a reason for it. All right. Now, this brown bar right here on the left indicator, on the price set of indicators, that brown bar has an abbreviation of POC. Point of control. Write it down, because it's the only place you're going to hear me talk about it is right here, point of control. That point of control is the place that the most volume for the last 500 bars, because I've got it set to 500 bars, took place at that price point. In other words, it is the strongest point on the chart. The way the indicator was built, the way it was taught to me, it is the strongest point on the chart. Most volume was there. Now, with that being said, we're going to just bring this back out, and I'm looking to make this bigger on the left side. All right, it's starting to go. All right, that's what I'm looking for. Okay. So notice where the point of control is. What I'm going to do is draw a line right at it. Right? And I'm going to mark it POC, point of control. Point of control. All right, POC, point of control. Now, the yellow bars that are on the upper and lower levels, and actually let me try to do this. Let's edit that. Let's go and edit the color. All right, so I'm trying to match it up somewhat with the color that's there. We're going to go ahead and match these up with the yellows, because I want you to see, or that cream color, whatever it is. And guys, I'm going to be off. I know I am. I'm not going to get it right. Let's just add it there for now. That's as close as I can get it, guys. I'm not a color guy. All right, not what I want to do. Let's go edit that line. And we'll pick up that swatch right there. All right. So between these two yellow lines, between here and here, this is called the value area, sometimes abbreviated as VA. VA, value area. All right, and this is the value area, and that is actually, let me do this. Okay, that value area is between here, between those two yellow lines. Here's what took place between those two yellow lines. 70% of the volume took place there. Okay, sorry about that. Phone ringing. I want to wait for it to stop, so it's not on the recording here. So we've got this value area is where 70% of the volume for the last 500 bars has taken place. What that means is each of these three lines I've drawn on here is a support and or resistance area. So think of them as almost pivot points or as supports and resistances, but they are lines, levels, areas that have importance to them. If for some reason we use something like a Fibonacci. And I'm just going to draw one. It really doesn't matter where I draw it. Let's say that, well, actually, that's a perfect place to draw it. How perfect was that? I drew the fib off of that low up to that high, right? And the 50 percentile, I'm going to move it over and then drag it out so we can see it better. That 50 percentile right there, which we know is an important level, right? I'm going to take the white line off. We really don't need it. That 50 percentile is a support level, right? Now, if that level happens to take place, another level happens to take place and coincide with the point of control or in the value area, where there is big volume taking place, right? Then that tells me that there's added strength at that price level. So we could see where, although the value area, and I'm going to delete the fib line in there, and although the value area, let's see, we've got to drag it back so we can get all of it. Okay. Although the value area is in this range, right, inside of there, if we look at what the volume on the left-hand side, or the importance levels on the left-hand side, you could see where the bigger levels are. You could see which one is larger, which one is smaller. Right? Doesn't matter what you do for dragging it because we have a defined 500 bars on our chart. Right? So I know that the point of control is the most important line on this entire chart. So as the stock moved up here and rolled over, there's resistance. It hit here, there's resistance. It comes down here, it's support. Up here was resistance, right? But not a big resistance because there's very small volume there. That's just where the majority was. Anything outside of that value area, and Apple's not really doing it for me. Let's go look at Deere. And it takes a couple of seconds to load. This is a resource-hungry indicator. All right, good. So if we look at it just as we did before, although I'm not going to color code them, here is the point of control is the brown one. Value area is the yellow lines. Right? Down here and up here, the red and blues, right? Right inside of these levels, right here. Oh, I thought I grabbed that. Let's see. In here and in here, we are considered to be outside the value area. Actually, it should be from, I should have a line drawn right there, right? So we're considered outside of the value area. The blue on the bottom, the red on the top. Now you can change your colors. You can edit your chart. And this is where, if we go to edit now, you'll see some of those settings. So now you see the colors. Oh, wait, I see the blue. Right? I see the reds. I can change those colors if you choose and make adjustments to them. So you can play with the settings a little bit if you choose. All right? Outside of there, it has no real importance. That's the last 30% was traded down here and up in here where these two outliers are. They're really not very important. So all you need to do is take this indicator, set up its own template for it as we did here, and use it to help define support and resistance at key volume areas on the chart or key price areas on the chart. I do tend to focus on this much smaller because I want to see inside of the candle. Is how I tend to look at it. But as we push up and we get near the point of control, right in here, and I see that happening, I know that I'm looking at resistance. And sure enough, as we pushed up today, we rolled right over. Now, did we hit it exact? Well, we're talking about 81.48 on Deere versus the top of this candle was 81.42, 6 cents away. So yeah, we hit it right on, right? And then we dropped $1.50, $1.40 from there once we hit that level. If we go and look at Apple, actually we looked at Apple. Let's go look at Netflix. And once again, it takes a few seconds to load. resource hungry, remember? Okay, so it finally loaded. Let's go ahead and find point of control, and you can see that this is more of an even keeled system. We have right in here, we've got volume setting up for the outskirts, right? These are the outside the value area. Right in there, right? And then in the middle, point of control is right here. Right in this part of the chart, okay? So you can see on here, as we get to these levels, or if we stretch these rectangles out, we could utilize this as support and resistance. And sure enough, it hits it, it rolls over. It hits it, it rolls over. Finally broke through. Right now, it comes back, tests it as support and bounces. Tests it again and bounces. And if we just look at the bottoms, oh, we don't need to go that far. You can see as it comes down, it tests that level and it bounces. So guys, we can use this setup here to identify these key areas. Now you can't just put these boxes on there or lines on there and call it a day, because as the last bar falls off and a new bar gets added, it may change things. Your value area may change. Your outside of value area, OVA, may change. Your POC, point of control, may change. You just, as you're looking at the chart, and it doesn't, you're not changing dollars when it does. It's going to start making a move. So don't get too stressed over it. If you see that, oh, it was at 81.50, now it's 81.52. It doesn't matter, you guys. You're right in the same ballpark, the same zone. So you're not going to see big shifts outside of massive gaps and just massive continuation of gap in a direction where you start to see those big shifts taking place in there at all. The one last thing that I need to show you here is make sure you save this page. So you can right click on that new page, click Save Page As, and I save things with my initials so I know that I did them. So I would put it as RR volume delta. Right? And if you have more than one, you could put number 2, number 8, whatever it is. Click Save, and you are done. All right, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you all soon. Take care, folks. Bye.